What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. The market had a great day today, and we have some giant news to cover. We're going to be looking at Disney's earnings, which have been fantastic so far. We have news related to Roblox and the NFL, and we have a lot of great stocks to talk about. So stay with us, guys. We have a great video today, and we have a lot of great setups for tomorrow. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike, Disney exploded today in after hours, and they came out with a bunch of great numbers from their Disney Plus subscriptions to their EPS to their revenue from the parks. They honestly reported good numbers all across the board, which is great to see. We actually have an article here from CNBC, and we can see that in this article, Disney had such good numbers. Their EPS almost doubled the expectation. They came in at $1.06 versus a 63-cent expectation. The revenue beat by almost $1 billion, and the Disney Plus subscriptions came in by over 4 million right here over the expectation, which is great to see considering Netflix tanked whenever they didn't meet their subscription estimates. So it's definitely good to see them coming out with these numbers. But then also they said that their parks business was roaring back as the company beats earnings. So it's just good to see that they reported great numbers all across the board, especially in such a volatile earnings market.
And on top of that, Tom, more than anything else, it's great to see those Disney Plus subscriptions rising in a time where Netflix is like, shoot, like the growth is slowing down a lot. So while Netflix is kind of falling off the board just a little bit, Disney's still like powering really strong. So that's awesome to see. Disney is one of my favorite stocks to own for like the next couple years. They're a solid company. They have an uncomparable brand. They're also getting into sports betting with their ESPN platform. And on top of that, they're making some moves for the metaverse and NFTs. So they're definitely willing to adapt.
Yeah, they definitely are. And with them, look at this on the daily chart. We had a pretty good day in general, closing up 3.33%, but we're going to open tomorrow at $160, which is all the way up here on the daily chart. So we're going to have a pretty big gap to the upside tomorrow. And Disney's starting to really roar back to life. We had that awesome 130 support that we touched a couple weeks ago. We've been hovering above 140. It's been explosive, and it's not just Disney exploding today. We had multiple stocks having huge moves to the upside. I had like 4 stocks on my watch list over 10%, including like Chewy, Enphase, AMC, and Tilray. But yeah, Disney's doing fantastic, Mike. And I know we've been covering Disney a ton. And, you know, if you guys would have been grabbing some shares down here and averaging in, it would be playing out very nicely right now.
Let's go, Tom. Love to see this. But what are like the most important levels on this one heading into tomorrow?
Yeah, they're going up to some pretty crazy levels here in after hours. 160 is a huge resistance. I'm going to be very careful to see if they can end up holding this. It looks like they did touch 162, and now they're having some consolidation. If we look at Disney on a 1-year daily chart, like I said, they're going to open at that 160 resistance as of right now. Past 160, though, looks like they have a pretty big gap to fill all the way back up to 168 to 170, Mike. And I think that they could end up filling that gap if the momentum continues. So hopefully they continue back to the upside. It's looking pretty strong. And as long as they open above 160, that's going to be a pretty good support to hold for tomorrow.
Sounds great. So another stock that we have blasting up in after hours is Twilio, TWLO. It is soaring to the upside right now. They just reported earnings and they had some really great revenue numbers. Their quarterly revenue is up 54% year over year. Their full year revenue is up 61% year over year, and the stock's looking pretty good. So, Tom, I figured I'd just showcase it considering that earnings have been pretty wild lately.
Yeah, they have. I mean, look at Twilio and after hours. It kind of reminds me of Enphase from yesterday. You know, Enphase was on fire, and then they even kept going up in pre-market. Of course, they consolidated a little bit when the market opened up, but man, Twilio looks pretty similar to that with the way that they're running, and hopefully it continues. You know, I know Twilio has also been one of those beaten down growth stocks, and they're also going to post a big gap on the chart, just like Disney. They're going to open up all the way up here around 258. And it's really nice to see these growth stocks starting to come up from these lows, Mike. And, you know, honestly, there's still a lot of stocks that you can have some pretty good some pretty good entries on. So definitely look at some of these stocks that are beaten down, guys. You can definitely tell how the market's starting to turn around now.
There we go. So, Tom, I know that it has been wild in the market over like the past couple of weeks. And while it is awesome to see a bunch of stocks popping up, I don't want to celebrate too early just yet because we do have that CPI coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, the CPI is going to be a pretty big deal. You know, it's kind of getting overshadowed by a lot of the earnings going on. You know, of course, the market's doing very well here over the past couple of days. The SPY moved from lows of 446. We're all the way up to 458 here in after hours. So it's definitely explosive. Lots of stocks are reporting great earnings, which is good to see. You know, I know that Netflix and a couple stocks were going down, but so far this week we've had Enphase. You know, now we have Disney doing well, and overall it's just been a pretty good week. So happy to see this, and that CPI data is going to be huge. You know, the Fed has been looking at that, and they've been using that as a pretty big gauge for what they've been doing. So hopefully the CPI data comes in better than expected, but if it does come out worse than expected, you know, there is a big resistance on the SPY here around 458. So we do have to be careful.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, CPI data is basically just inflation data. The higher that is, normally it's not a good sign, and it's been pretty high lately. So definitely be on the lookout for that. That data will come out an hour before open tomorrow. And like Tom said, we are pretty close to that resistance level on the SPY, right around 458. So definitely keep that in mind. But Tom, I never thought I would hear news related to Roblox and the NFL. So what is going on with that?
Yeah, this is insane. The NFL is actually, they're kind of doing a deal with Roblox where they're going to get into the metaverse here. And it looks like Roblox is actually shooting up with this news in after hours. They're rising up above $70, which was a huge resistance for them, all the way up to 71.83 at this point. But the NFL actually put out a pretty good article here that we'll go ahead and look at. And we can see that in the first sentence, they said that they announced the launch of their NFL or of NFL Tycoon to engage in the next generation of NFL football fans in the metaverse, which is great to hear. They say the NFL will be the first official major sports league to offer a persistent experience on Roblox, a global platform bringing millions of people together through a shared experience. It's always good to see companies kind of getting into the metaverse, but the NFL is such a large business. We have the Super Bowl coming up, and we all know how popular the NFL is. So this is such good news for Roblox. They're just continuing to make deals with more and more companies, and they're just getting more exposure, in my opinion, and they're just getting a lot of buyers. So a lot of momentum here, Mike, and that's just awesome news to hear this partnership. And it's going to be kind of cool, you know, like maybe you'll be able to hop on Roblox and play some NFL games or something.
That'd be crazy. But I think this is giant for Roblox because, you know, even though the NFL had some great news with them, this might be like the stepping stone for the MLB and the NHL and all of the other major supports and even other powerful, I guess you can say, organizations. So I think that's awesome for Roblox. Tom, Roblox stock has been all over the place lately. Would you mind sharing some of like the most important levels to watch?
Yeah, definitely. As we were going down here, Roblox started really breaking some of their key support levels. Like they fell below $60 for a couple of days, but it looks like as of recently, $60 is holding up very well as a major support, which is great. And $70 was a huge resistance, but it looks like here at the end of the day, in after hours, we ended up breaking right above $70. So hopefully $70 can be a good support. Honestly, I'm really happy to see the stock moving up above here. As we start to rise above 70, I'm going to be eyeing up $80 as the next major level. There is some smaller resistances sprinkled in, like right around 75, but I think $80 is going to be the next major one to look at. There's been a lot of gaps right around there. So I think that's going to be the next level, but this is just such good news. Like you mentioned, Mike, other sports companies might get into this, and it's just such good news for them for the longer term.
Awesome. So is there any other like major news that you're watching right now?
You know, there was some news that came out with Facebook. It's not the biggest news in the world, but I will say Facebook had a pretty good bounce off of support today, Mike. If we look at Facebook, of course, they took that big tumble with earnings, and they did continue down for a few days. sometimes when we see those big tumbles, the stocks like to come right back up. But it looks like Facebook just continued lower. But I will say, if we go to the max daily chart, Facebook is bouncing off of a key level that they've bounced off of tons of other times. We can see multiple cases where Facebook has touched this level and had humongous moves. So I'm not surprised that they touched this and got a nice pop back to the upside. I think that's great news for them. And then, like I mentioned, there was some decent news that ended up coming out yesterday. We can see that their market cap fell below $600 billion, which initially you would think this is bad news, but actually might help them dodge an antitrust scrutiny thing that's going on with the House right now. And we can kind of see that the House picked $600 billion as the threshold for a covered platform. So I just wanted to mention this because it's interesting that they might be going down here to try to, kind of stay away from some of these antitrust issues.
That's interesting. So I'll definitely keep Facebook on my radar. But Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have Chewy to the upside.
Yeah, Chewy had a very explosive day today, really broke out very well. I would go ahead and make them break out above 52.50. And if they break that in pre-market, then look at 52.75.
All right, with the next one, we have Square.
Yeah, Square or Block. Look at them actually rising up in after hours here in such a great way. Make them break out above 115. That's going to be a big resistance. If they break that, definitely watch 120 after that.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Teladoc.
Yeah, Teladoc, TDOC. This one, I'm so glad to see this one back after the rough couple of days it had there. Go ahead and make Teladoc break this major resistance right around $78. This one has been very explosive, and I would say if it breaks 78, it could have a pretty good run. And with the way it's moving now, it might start running up in pre-market.
Awesome. So we are watching Teladoc, Square, and Chewy for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. But I do want to give a giant shout out to our member of the day today, which is the Tangy Man. So he's been pretty active in the YouTube comments. So huge shout out, Tangy. Comments really help grow the channel. So thank you so much for all of your support. But Tom, do you have any last minute plays or thoughts with the market right now?
I just wanted to showcase the bot play really quick today, Mike. Like Enphase was so popular yesterday, and we had Enphase tank off the table this morning all the way down to the 155 support where it moved a little bit in after hours yesterday. We saw a very nice bounce today, and it came right back to the upside. I know the bot had a very nice snipe there, but overall, I just wanted to highlight Enphase for a couple of seconds because it was very nice to see them rising yesterday, but they did tumble down a little bit. It was nice to see them still close up 12%, and hopefully this momentum that they had towards the end of the day continues into tomorrow, and we see them continue to break out.
There we go. So let's showcase that bot play in Discord. We can see the bot call out the Enphase $157.50 calls at $510 each. And they ran all the way up to $795 each in a couple hours. So that's pretty awesome. That's a 56% pop. So if you trade options, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below for daily option swing trades, day trades, access to custom bots, and access to a great community. The bot basically called the bottom on Enphase today. Of course, it doesn't call the bottom every single time. It does lose sometimes, but overall, it is pretty dang accurate, and it's pretty awesome. So, like I said, if you trade options, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. Besides that, if you guys learned something, please consider subscribing. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.